breaking news out of Fresno. Millbrook Avenue is closed right now between Gettysburg and Cedar because of a car crash. This is a live look right now at the area, and you can see the closed road. Oh, and the fence that is knocked down because of this. Right now, we do not know if there are any injuries. Is the wheel off on that? Okay, so it really does look like there's a bit more to the story here. If this white car was involved in this crash, but down the way hit a fence first and then stopped in front of that house. Anyway, but the most important thing is we need to let you know about Millbrook and Gettysburg. This is an area where this investigation is continuing, and you will need to find another way around this road. All right. You can stay up to date by going to our website, kmph.com. We will be right back.
Danger and caution signs are now warning visitors entering Hensley Lake of the harmful algae found in the water.
Fox 26 reporter Shelby Bracho visited the lake and got an up-close look at the harmful algae that you can find right now near the Hidden View and Buckridge boat ramps.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has posted signs at different points of entry here at Hensley Lake, depending on the level of toxic algae that was found. Now, swimmers, fishermen, and boaters are still welcome to enter the water, but officials are asking you to make an informed decision.
If you are going to get in the water, make sure you're not getting in an area where you can visibly see the scum. It's a bright green paint-like color in the water, and you want to avoid those areas.
Doug Plitt, the operations project manager with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at Hidden Dam Hensley Lake, says blue-green algae is common in the summer and early fall.
It doesn't happen every year. Right now we have a low water, there's not a lot of boat activity, and when conditions, nutrients are right, then the algae can bloom. When it multiplies, it releases cyanotoxins, and those cyanotoxins are what is hazardous to human and animals. Kids and pets are the most susceptible to ingesting the water.
And if ingested, it could be deadly.
If you get it on your skin, it can cause irritation to the skin, rashes. So if you ingested the water that had cyanotoxins in it, you would maybe feel nausea, headache, dry mouth, vomiting, and you would want to contact a doctor right away.
And if you choose to cast a line? Typically,
the anglers ask what they can do with their fish, and they're advised to wash them with fresh tap water and discard the guts and innards.
Plitt says the harmful algae accumulates in coves.
Wind will blow it into a cove, and so you'll see scum or possibly mats on top of the water. And those areas are where the algae is really dangerous, that you want to watch out for.
Plitt says it can be hard to predict when this harmful algal bloom will end, but he says when the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board conducts its regular monitoring and no longer sees any of this green paint-like scum here in the water for a period of 2 weeks, it'll lift that advisory. At Hensley Lake, Shelby Bracho, Fox 26 News.
Ooh, she was too close there for me. I thought she was
Wouldn't want to touch that water.
No, we're staying away.
Yeah, for sure, for a long time.
Oh yeah, and Plitt says pet owners should also be aware that a lot of animals can get sick if they lick their fur clean after they get in contact with that algae, so keep your pets away too.
If you would like to learn more about the harmful algae blooms, we have the links available right now on our website. It's kmph.com.
Assemblyman Kevin Kiley is one of 40-plus candidates who are seeking to replace the current governor, Gavin Newsom, in the September 14th recall election. He joins us live now from Sacramento, and thank you for your time this morning, Assemblyman. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Well, if you are elected governor in now 23 days, if we count today, you've said you would end the current state of emergency, and you're on the record as being against the mask mandate. So my question would be, how do you plan to deal with the current surge of coronavirus cases caused by the Delta variant?
Well, I would take a totally different approach than this governor has, and that is that I would try to develop trust with people and give them the tools they need to make their own decisions as to how to protect themselves. We've seen across the country that different states have taken different approaches to dealing with COVID-19, but California has been a total national outlier. We have had the highest level of restrictions, the highest level of government control of any states. That's not an exaggeration. We've been 50th out of 50 in terms of what's allowed to be open. We've been 50th out of 50 in terms of the longest school closures, and the results have been pretty catastrophic. I mean, we've had the worst learning loss for our kids. We've had the second highest unemployment rate in the country, and our public health outcomes have been among the worst in the country as well when you measure excess mortality. So what we've seen is states that have taken a different approach, that have followed the actual science, that have taken a balanced approach, and have trusted their citizens, have done a lot better. And that's the approach that I try to take as governor.
And I believe you've been vaccinated. Do you encourage others to get the shot?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a member of the legislature right now, and so I've done everything that I can to get information and access to my constituents. And that, I should note, is in stark contrast to Gavin Newsom, who last year thought it was good politics to cast doubt on the vaccine. He said we couldn't take the FDA's word for whether it was safe, and the chair of the United States Senate Health Committee had to tell him to cut it out because Newsom was discouraging Americans from taking the vaccine. And then he had the slowest rollout of any governor in the country and didn't prioritize seniors. So I would have done things much differently from the beginning. I would have provided information and access as quickly as possible, and I would have tried to build trust. Gavin Newsom has done just the opposite.
Water is a big issue here in the Valley. What would you do to end what feels like a perpetual drought situation?
That's a great question. And, you know, it is a perfect example of the total failure of California government. I mean, our government does a lot of things that it really shouldn't be doing, but it fails to do the basics, like actually building the storage we need to have a sustainable supply of water. And so now we have these draconian cutbacks, unprecedented. The governor's office, his agriculture secretary, blames it on Mother Nature and climate change. But the reality is that we have more than enough water that comes to us by the grace of God. We just need to manage it responsibly. So I've proposed a constitutional amendment to allocate a fixed portion of our state budget every year towards expanding our water supply until we add 5 million acre feet to the annual supply of water in California. That's more than enough to provide for our needs.
And another issue that seems to be perpetual, that's the fire seasons now. Do you have what is your plan for dealing with these, what seems like every year, worse fire seasons?
Right. Another example of why living in California is way harder than it should be, because many of these fires are absolutely preventable if we simply manage our forests properly. Right now, we have 15 to 20 million acres of overgrown forests in California. And an example of the consequence of this, if you look actually to the Creek Fire from last year, the forest around Shaver Lake was mostly unscathed because that forest had been properly managed through the removal of aged trees, through methods like prescribed burns. And if the rest of our forests in California were managed that way, then we wouldn't be having these catastrophic events with the regularity that we do.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your time this morning, Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.